are solving inequalities by multiplying or dividing today. And when we multiply or divide, there's something that happens that's a little bit different than solving regular equations. Michael, question? Okay. If you multiply each side of an inequality by the same positive number, the direction of the inequality symbol stays the same. So just like when we add or subtract the same thing to both sides, it's still the same inequality. If we were to multiply by any number, let's do 2. If we do 12 times 2, that should be greater than 8 times 2. 12 times 2 is 24, and 24 is greater than 16. No matter what number we put in there, as long as it's positive, we're going to get an inequality that's still true. Same thing on this side. What should I multiply this by? Somebody pick a number. David. Just pick one. 2. 2 again? Okay, so 3 times 2 we would expect to be less than 6 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 is less than 12. And that's going to be true for any positive number. Now let's look what happens when we multiply by the same negative number. Nathan, pick a negative number.
-3.
-3. Okay, so let's multiply 6 times -3 and see if that's greater than 2 times -3. 6 times -3 is -18. Is -18 actually greater than -6?
No.
No. So when we multiply by a negative, because of that whole way, the number line is like a mirror. The numbers go backwards as you go left, they go forward as you go right. It doesn't work. This is not true. So we have to say instead, -18 is actually less than -6. What about another negative number? Let's try another one. David?
-4.
-4. Okay, let's multiply this one times -4. If we do 3 times -4 and 5 times -4, we get -12, -20. -20 is farther to the left on the number line, so -20 is less than -12. So again, we had to reverse the sign of our inequality. It makes it the opposite. So if you multiply each side of an inequality by the same negative number, the direction of the inequality symbol is reversed. So that's the tricky thing that you have to remember. Every time you multiply or divide by a negative number, you're going to reverse the inequality sign. Everything else stays the same. So that's the only change that you're going to be making. The division property of inequality is exactly the same as the multiplication property. So if you divide each side of an inequality by the same positive number, the direction of the inequality symbol stays the same. But if you divide each side by the same negative number, the direction of the inequality symbol, again, will be reversed. Okay, let's look at some examples of how this works. So our first example, -3y is less than or equal to -27. We need to get rid of the -3 in front of the y. How do we do that? Emma? No, we don't want to add it because -3,
Divide.
if they're right next to each other, yeah, divide. Because if they're right next to each other, it means multiply, and we need to do the opposite. So we're going to divide both sides by -3. Anytime we add, multiply, or divide by a negative number, this sign is going to reverse. So I immediately have to think, I usually circle the sign to remind myself, ooh, I have to reverse that. So -3y divided by -3 is just y. I'm going to reverse my inequality symbol. -27 divided by -3 is +9. So I have y is greater than or equal to 9. Now I'm going to graph my solution. Let's just write 7, 8, 9. I'll just put a few numbers on there. What would the graph of this look like, Nathan? Right.
Closed circle on 9.
Good. Closed circle on 9. And am I going to go to the right or to the left? Why?
Right.
Why?
Because it's equal to.
Well, the equal doesn't have anything to do with the arrow. The equal tells us that it's closed. It's the greater than part that tells us about the arrow. If y has to be greater than 9, then our graph has to include numbers that are greater than 9, and those numbers are to the right. So we do want to go to the right. If I went to the left, I'd be saying that 8 is a solution, and that's not true because 8 is not greater than or equal to 9. Okay? Okay, next is just a set for you guys to try, so I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Okay, so for letter A, all of you knew how to get rid of this -4. Everybody that I saw divided. Some of you forgot that you need to divide by a negative. If this 4 in front of the P is a -4, you have to divide by a -4. So that was the first mistake I saw. And then we get as an answer P. Since we divided by a negative number, we have to reverse the inequality sign. Some of you forgot to reverse the inequality sign. Some of you remembered to reverse the inequality sign, but then you forgot that when you divide a positive by a negative, the answer is negative. So you should have ended up with P is greater than -9. So on the number line, I'm going to put -10, -9, -8. P is greater than, so open circle. Greater than tells us we need our arrow to point in the direction of the greater numbers, which is to the right. Okay, letter B. I'm going to take a volunteer for this one. Bella.
You divide -1.8 to each side.
Okay.
And then it's n is less or equal to -3.
Good. Careful, it's not -3 because when you divide a negative by a negative, you're going to get +3. Okay, what would the graph of that look like?
Closed circle on -3 and the arrow pointing left.
Okay, but remember it's +3 though. So close circle on +3, good. And absolutely the arrow points left. Okay, letter C. Volunteer on this one also. Bryant, go ahead.
Divide by 3
Okay.
on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
N is less than -0.6 repeated.
Okay, so you decided to reverse the inequality sign, but did you actually divide by a negative number? This one I put on there on purpose because this one has a negative number on the right side. You're doing -2 divided by 3, but the number in green, the one that you choose to divide by, is not negative. So you do not reverse the sign. It's only if what you do to the problem is negative that you reverse the sign. If there's a negative sign already there, that one doesn't count. But if I had divided by a -3 here, I would have to reverse the sign. So I'm going to keep that as greater than. I'm going to choose to keep the fraction -2/3 rather than writing a repeating decimal. Okay, it's better to just show the fraction. So let's see, let's do -1/3, -2/3, -1. Okay, what would the graph look like, Brian?
Open circle on 2/3.
Uh-huh.
Going to the right.
Good. Okay, any questions about these? Okay, next step is solving inequalities by multiplying. There should be line here. So to get rid of, we have y divided by -8 is greater than or equal to 2. To get rid of the -8, what do we need to do? Angelina? Multiply. Good, by -8. She got that negative in there. So we're going to multiply both sides by -8. Now when we multiply by a negative number, we have to do what? Change the sign. So we have y is less than or equal to -16. Okay, what about the next one? I have a fraction in front of my variable. How do I get rid of a fraction in front of a variable? David? Okay, anyone? How do we get rid of a fraction in front of a variable? Angelina?
Switch the fraction.
What do you mean by switch the fraction?
Like 3/2.
3/2. Good. We multiply by the reciprocal. Good. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2. Because I multiplied by a negative, I'm going to reverse my inequality sign, and then I'm going to change this to negative 6 over 1. I can cross simplify. 2 goes into itself once and into 3 times. So now I have negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. So h is greater than 9. Okay, the next two ask you to solve and graph the solution. So take a couple minutes and do these. Okay, so for the first one, as I was going around, I saw a lot of right answers, but a few people got a little bit mixed up on this one. Volunteer to tell me how to do this one? Cheyenne. Good. Multiply by negative 5. Okay, what do I end up with? K is greater than what? 20. Good. Okay, excellent job. So K is greater than because we multiplied by a negative number. So we had to reverse the sign. And then some people had negative 20 here. Most of you did remember to reverse the sign this time, but some of you put negative 20. Remember the rule tells us if we multiply a negative number by a negative number, we get a positive answer. Okay, Cheyenne, what does the graph of that look like? Wait, what? Did you say open or closed? Okay, what I thought you said. Left, no. K is greater than 20. If we go left, is 19 greater than 20? No, so we need to go, our arrow needs to point in the direction. This arrow means it goes on forever. So all of the numbers greater than 20 are included in our graph. Okay, Kayla, can you tell us how to solve the next one? Good. By positive 4 over 3? Negative 4 over 3. Okay, and what do I end up with? Go start with the W.
W is less than or equal
Good.
to
Negative 16, yes. Okay, so she's multiplying by a negative, so she reversed the sign, and then 12 times negative 4 would be negative 48 divided by 3 would be negative 16, or you can cross simplify. 3 goes into itself once, into 12 4 times. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. What does the graph look like, Kayla?
I put 15, 16, and 17 negative,
Okay.
and a closed circle on negative 16.
Good.
Going through.
We want numbers that are less than negative 16. If I go to the right, I'm going to include negative 15 as that. What's that?
You go to the right.
No, if I go to the right, I'm going to hit negative 15. Did you label your graph like this? So, is negative 15 less than negative 16? No. So I don't want to go to the right because then I would be including numbers that are actually greater than, not less than. Less than always tells me to go to the left.
This is the last call for ticket sales for Friday's game. If you need to purchase tickets, please report to the office at this time.
Okay.